my name is Jeanette and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to do an author spotlight on Rachel Fordham. I have now read her to zero, so let's talk about all her books. First, I was going to print off my notes for this, but my printer ran out of ink. So I have my monitor on, so the reflection might be a little bit worse than normally it is with my glasses. Okay, so Rachel Fordham writes historical fiction. She was first published in 2018 with her debut book, The Hope of Azure Springs. She has 7 books to date. I'm going to go through them in publication order. I discovered her through the book The Letter Tree. In October of 2023, I was on her launch team for this book. It just sounded so intriguing at the time, so I signed up. I loved the book so much that I have gone back and read all her older releases and her newest one that I do not have a physical copy of. So I first read her in October of 2023, and as of May 2025, I've read her to zero. As of recording this, filming this, there is no publication announced for her. I'm really hoping there's a new book coming soon, but as of right now, there's nothing released. Okay, her writing just captured me, and I felt transported to the time setting or time period and the setting of her books. And yes, so as I said, her debut book was The Hope of Azure Springs. This was released July of 2018. It is set in Iowa, 1881. And it says, 7 years ago, orphaned and alone, Em arrived at a new home in Iowa after riding the orphan train. But secrets from her past haunt her, and her new life in the western wilderness is a rough one. When her guardian is shot and killed, Em, now 19, finally has a chance to search for her long-lost sister, but she won't be able to do it alone. For Azure Springs Sheriff Caleb Reynolds, securing justice for the injured Em is part of his job. He's determined to solve every case put before him in order to impress his parents and make a name for himself. Caleb expects to succeed. What he doesn't expect is the hold this strange young woman will have on his heart. So Em has had a hard life, and it is Caleb's job to catch the ones responsible for her current situation. Em and Caleb slowly become friends, and I just love their interactions and their little competitions that they did between each other. There were so many great characters in this story, with 2 little girls being some of my favorites. This deals with grief, hardship, and looking forward to the future. That is The Hope of Azure Springs. Okay, then her second book was released a year later, July 2019, and that is Yours Truly, Thomas. This starts out in Washington, D.C., and then goes to Iowa in 1883. So Penny has worked at the Dead Letter Office in D.C. for 3 years, but she dreams of something more. When she comes across a letter from a broken-hearted man to his one true love, she seizes the chance to do something heroic. It becomes her mission to place this lost letter into the hands of its intended recipient. Thomas left his former life, never expecting a happy ending after what he had done. All he wanted to do was run and not look back. In a moment of desperation, he began to write, never expecting a reply. These characters are dealing with grief, tough decisions, and learning to embrace new beginnings. I absolutely loved the bravery of Penny and how the community of Azure Springs welcomed the newcomers. I laughed so much throughout this story. The friendship between Penny and Diana, the letters that were exchanged, the community members, and of course, the friendship that turns romantic. Yours truly, Thomas. Okay, her third book, A Life Once Dreamed. This was released August 2020, and it is set in the Dakota Territory, 1880. So it is set in a frontier town in the Dakota Territory. Aggie has left all she knew in the city of Buffalo after learning a devastating secret 6 years ago. She has built a life for herself in this new frontier town as a school teacher. But when someone from her past shows up in town, her plans for the future are threatened. I wasn't a fan that Aggie ran rather than being honest about why she left, but I understood why she held back from sharing. There were two wonderful guys that could provide a future for Aggie, but will she choose one of them or will she choose to stay single? I laughed at little Tommy with his questions and how the adults tried to pass them off without answering him. Aggie was determined to stand up against the prejudice towards illegitimate children. The friendship and the resilience of the community members made me root for them. A life once dreamed. Then we have A Lady in Attendance. This was released June of 2021. It is set in New York in 1898. And Hazel is trying to rebuild her life after time spent in a reformatory for a crime she did not commit. We see her find a job and make new friends. The group of friends work together to help Hazel clear her name. I enjoyed when Hazel and Ina had their girl talk moments, and Gilbert was so sweet and had some of the best lines. I loved the slow development of the romance and seeing them work to fight their feelings in order to put the other's needs first. I really enjoyed how the daily life was included in this. We see the characters learn the importance of forgiveness, grow from the beginning of the story to the end, and find romance. A Lady in Attendance. Where the Road Bends. This was released June of 2022, and it is set again in Iowa in 1880. Nora is engaged to be married to someone quite a bit older than her, and someone she isn't in love with, all to save her family farm. She finds Quincy injured in a field and brings him back to her place and cares for him while he heals. A friendship begins, but life circumstances separate them. I was fully invested in these two characters and had to keep reading to find out what was going to happen. I did not want to put this book down. I loved seeing the friendships grow and romance developed. The side characters added to the enjoyment of this story, and I was smiling at the end. The Letter Tree. This was released October 2023. It is set in Buffalo, New York in 1924. Isaac and Laura have been exchanging letters for the past 7 years, never knowing the identity of the other person. Their fathers were once business partners until a feud happened and any contact between the families was banned by both sides. Isaac and Laura have no idea what happened and only know that they aren't allowed to be in contact with one another. When it is revealed that the other is the mysterious pen pal, their treasured friendship is in jeopardy. What do? I absolutely adored these characters and did not like how their families treated them. They pushed them into various situations without a thought to their feelings. I was so glad that Laura had the housekeeper, Mrs. Gaskin, as not only someone to confide in, but someone who loved her like a mother. I loved the mystery of trying to figure out what happened to cause the rift, but I also loved watching their love develop and was cheering for these two to figure out a way to overcome the obstacles before them. I absolutely loved reading the exchanged letters. The letters just give you an insight into what the person is thinking and feeling. This, as I said, this was the one that introduced me to Rachel's writing and made me try the others, and it's just been a great journey. And her most recent release is Beyond Ivy Walls. This came out August 2024. It is set in Iowa, 1903, and it's kind of a loose take on Beauty and the Beast. Otis Taylor has returned home after being sent away by his father years ago. Now it's up to him to deal with the family home and the business dealings after the passing of his father. Due to events from his past, he has accepted a life in the shadows and does not want to risk ridicule from others. Meanwhile, Sadie has left her family farm to work at a duster factory to earn money to help her family after her father gets injured. Due to events, she has been staying in an abandoned factory owned by the Taylor family, but no one knows. I absolutely loved Sadie's perspective on life and her determination to work hard for her family. I could feel Otis's pain and could understand his struggle with being home. He comes across as a grump at first, but you quickly see that he has a soft heart and will do anything for those he cares about. There is a bit of mystery going on trying to figure out who someone is and where they could be. Once some of these questions are answered, Otis then needs to make some decisions, and that was hard because no matter what he decided, somebody was going to get hurt. I absolutely loved how Sadie encouraged him and looked past his exterior to see his heart. I also enjoyed the characters of Mildred and Leon, the caretakers of the Taylor home. They each came out with some witty comments and it just made me laugh. One of my favorite lines was, "You're offering her room and board, not matrimony. It makes no difference what you look like." It was entertaining. Okay, so those are the 7 books. As I said, I own 6. I do not own Beyond Ivy Walls. Someday I will add it to my collection. And I did not give you ratings as I went through each book because every book has been a 5-star for me. I have just loved the characters so much. So no matter what you start with, as I said, my first book was The Letter Tree. Then I read Yours Truly Thomas was my next one. I should have read The Hope of Azure Springs first because this one kind of introduces you to the town, and this one you arrive in the town. So it would have been good to read them publication order. That's kind of what I encourage, but that's not the way I do it. Do the one that whatever intrigues you the most. I think these are really, if I remember correctly, I think the first 2, these 2, are the only ones that really kind of tie in with each other. You meet previous characters, but now that I think about it, I think you do. In another one, I think you meet a character that you've already met earlier on, but I don't remember that well. Yeah. Either way, I encourage you to pick up one of her books and try them because they're just so enjoyable, so enjoyable. So yes, that is my author spotlight on Rachel Fordham. I encourage you to give her a try. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope I have encouraged you to give Rachel Fordham a try if you have not read any of her books before. I would love to have bookish conversation in the comments below, and let's chat. If you have nothing to say, that's okay. Just put a book stack because I have a stack of books here. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.